Get started. Welcome everybody. This is the subject of this webinar is how to create websites with GitHub and Netlify. And the idea is that I'll show everybody how to use GitHub to collaboratively develop like a blog or a R package documentation website. And I invite all of you to follow along. If you can, I'm going to be doing some live coding demos in my R session and creating a Git repository. So,
do we need our studio open?
Yeah, if you want, you can open your R studio and I can check in with you guys to see if you're following along or if you get any errors, or I might be able to help with that. So, are there any questions before we get started, though? Okay, great. Well, yeah. So, I'm gonna get started by doing a screen share and pulling up those slides that I put together. So I'm gonna do, let's see, entire screen, share. And does that work for you guys?
Yeah, we can see clearly.
Okay. Okay, great. So I start with the slides, and please tell me, interrupt verbally if there's any questions, because I'm not looking at the chat or anything. Okay, so the title is Collaborative Websites with GitHub and Netlify. And I'll read the abstract. So GitHub is a great free software service for hosting source code, but Pages has two major problems for hosting websites. Number one, inefficiency of putting website files in the same repo as the source code, and no easy way to preview the website updates and pull requests, PRs. In this talk, we present Netlify, a free web hosting service which solves these two problems. We show step-by-step how to create a collaborative website on Netlify using either Quarto for a blog or Lightdown package down for our package documentation website. So for each pull request on GitHub, Netlify creates a preview website without modifying the main website. After others have reviewed the updated code and website, merging the PR updates the main site. And so all contributors to our project in Google Summer of Code should try using this approach for blogging and or R package documentation. It's not necessary, but it's highly recommended. It makes your work a lot more impactful if people can read something like that online. So the motivation, you want to write a tech blog or software manual with code examples with source code on GitHub so you can do modifications and pull requests. That makes it easier for others to contribute. Anybody can send you a pull request to update your website. And so that's especially important in the context of Google Summer of Code, where you have a team of, mentors and contributors, and you want to be able to have everybody on the team be able to easily preview the changes. And so you want to have code chunks that are executed and the output is shown. So in GitHub Actions virtual machine, Quarto converts QMD input files to HTML output files, or Lightdown or Package Down converts an R package input to HTML output. And so then we're going to get a deployment on Netlify. So when we deploy on Netlify, we can preview updated website for every PR without affecting the main website. And so that makes it easier for others to review the proposed changes to the website, because you get different websites for each pull request. And so then you can preview what it looks like before it affects the main site. When you do want the pull request to update the main site, you just merge the pull request and then the main site gets updated at that point. So I give a few examples before we get started with the demonstration. Number one, last year I moved this Animate 2 project manual to Netlify. So you get a website that looks like this. It's kind of like an online book where you have this web page that's generated using Quarto. You have the source code in this GitHub repository. And then the main website is this animate manual en.netlify.app. It's pretty cool. You can even have interactive graphics here. The Animate 2 project is all about animated interactive graphics. And so when you do a Quarto document, you can write some text. You can put some R code chunks, and then you get whatever output after the R code chunk. And in this case, you get an interactive graphical output. The interactive graphics here are generated on GitHub Actions based on the code that you write in your Quarto document, and it generates this web page where you can actually click on and interact with the interactive graphic. Then, you put as many code chunks and more text as you want. Another example, I recently moved the data table blog to Netlify, and so here the source code is in this GitHub repository. The main site is this data table raf.netlify.app, and we can have maybe a demonstration already of what it looks like to have a modification in the pull request. So let's take a look at this. So if we take a look at this main site here, you go to datatableraf.netlify.app, and we see that this is a website for the Raft blog, if it loads. So this is the blog that we created for the data table package. This is a very influential and highly critical infrastructure package, and our data table provides a really high efficiency kind of a database and data manipulation functionality. And so this is what the blog looks like in the kind of like the production version, the regular main website version. And so here you see use of non-API entry points in data tables, the first post here in January 13th, 2025. And so if you take a look at the other link I wrote here, the preview site, you follow this link, and let's see. You see that it takes you to another website. You see the URL up here is different. It has this /merge prefix to the website domain name. And you see that there's, if you go to the main blog page here, you see that it's different, right? It's got this first post, which is happy birthday data table, right? Because actually data table is just celebrating its 20th anniversary of its first CRAN release. And I wrote a blog post about that. And so you can see basically everything's the same thing here. You see that other post by Ivan in January 2025 is still there, but now we've added a new one on top. So what we see here is just like a complete copy of the website, but we have one new post added here. And so why is this important? Because, well, if you take a look here, usually if you look at a pull request, so this is the pull request that implements the changes to the website. Usually you just get this files change tab to take a look at the differences, and you just look at the source code. And of course, yeah, we can see that we added this new QMD file and you've got all these lines added, but we don't see what the website looks like from the pull request, usually with GitHub. And so the nice thing about using Netlify is that it's going to render that QMD file. So then we can see what the website looks like after we add that new blog post. And so usually, in the context of the pull request, we're going to put a link like this to the new website updates, whatever pages were changed or added. So here I put a link to the updated, the new page on the blog website. So does that make sense? Is everybody still following? Can I have somebody verbally confirm that you're still alive?
Yeah, we're live. Follow. Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah. Any questions so far? I guess not hearing any. I guess I'll continue. So that's the second example. Again, when you do this like blog kind of thing, you have text, then you have some R code chunk, and then you get some graphical output here. This is a ggplot. Again, all the output is generated on GitHub Actions. So you're only going to put the source code in your GitHub repository. Then on GitHub Actions, it's going to execute all the source code and then push the website to Netlify. Example 3, you can do this with R package documentation. So I have a couple examples here from R packages I maintain. One is called MLR3 resampling for some advanced cross-validation algorithms in the MLR3 machine learning framework in R. And ATime, which is an asymptotic package if you want to test how fast your code is and compare it to different functions in R. That's a good option. And here is an example of what it looks like. If you use a light down generated website, you have some man pages where the examples are executed and you can see the graphical output on the web page. Again, when you make a change to your R package, it's nice because then you can preview what the updated web pages look like right in the context of the pull request. So before we go on and give a demonstration about how this works, how to set it up, just discuss like some other options. So why not using GitLab for other source code hosting? Well, so I say that we should use GitHub because it's more popular, so it's easier for others to contribute PRs to your repository. Of course, you could set all this stuff up with GitLab or some other service that it should work fine, but it might not be as easy for other people to contribute. So why not use Jekyll or Hugo for website generation? These are these other website generators using Markdown. And so the difference here is when we're using Quarto, during each build in GitHub Actions virtual machine, Quarto is going to evaluate the R and the Python code and put the updated results, the text and graphics in the HTML. So that's the main advantage of using Quarto. It's going to actually execute your R code. So Jekyll may be better if results should be frozen and not rerun in each build. So that's something to consider if you don't actually want to rerun and re-execute all the code every time on the virtual machine. So why not use GitHub Pages for web hosting? So there's two reasons. Number one, it doesn't offer this really nice preview website for every pull request like Netlify does. And number two, Pages requires generated website files in the GitHub repository, which means that's going to make large disk usage and that'll be slow. I'm going to let somebody in. Very good. And so with Netlify deployment, we only put the source files in the GitHub repository. And so that means the GitHub repository is more efficient. So that's going to be an important difference. So
could I ask a quick question about that?
Yeah, sure.
I've heard from people who've used GitHub Pages, Netlify, and Cloudflare Pages. And interesting, it was someone, it was a Posit employee who said, I use Posit, but I would have used Cloudflare Pages just because they've just got so many protections, denial of service attacks, etc., built in. Do you have thoughts on that? Is Netlify
so the
good
question
at that
is why not use Cloudflare deployment? Well, to be honest, I haven't compared against Cloudflare, so I don't really know what are the pros and cons. You probably would know better than I do, actually.
We use them for getting a domain name through them, and someone said you should use them for the pages as well, get their web hosting as well.
Yeah, so that might be another option. I'm not sure if they support this feature about, preview websites for every pull request, but I know Netlify does, and that's a very nice feature.
Yeah.
So, any other questions before we go on? All right, so let's keep going. So now I'm going to go to this demonstration part of the talk where, basically I'm going to try to actually in real time set up a new Quarto blog website. And so I'll invite you guys to follow along if you like. And so I give an overview of the steps here. It starts from cloning a GitHub repo and goes all the way to kind of configuring everything. You're going to have to generate a token in Netlify and also in GitHub, and then put these kind of things in your GitHub repository as what we call secrets. After that, we're going to add a new GitHub action in that repository and maybe add a render.r script to install packages. And then after that, you should be able to have a working repository with on GitHub and a working website on Netlify. So let's get started. So first thing that we want to do is if you're making a R package website and your package is already in a GitHub repository, just clone that to your local computer. If you're creating a new package or a new blog, then we're going to create a new repository. And so here I give you some code for doing that. Quarto create project. So let's try to do that and see if that works. Okay. I'm going to go into my Emacs and I'm going to go into my R folder. I'm going to start a new R. And actually, is the text big enough for you guys? I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. Let's see, how about 180? Is that better for reading?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
Great. So here I'm going to execute this Quarto create project, and let's call it like demo or blah. Yeah, demo May 26. Okay. That's going to be the name of my new repository, and it's going to be a blog. I get an error, no namespace, name Quarto. I'm going to try to install that right now. Probably you might get some of these same errors if you're trying to follow along on your computer. And please tell me if you get an error that you don't know how to handle, or if you get this function not found error, the solution is to install the missing package. Let's try that again. So here it says we will create a new Quarto blog project in folder named demo May 26. Project title will be set to demo May 26. Yes, let's proceed.
Oh.
Okay.
I just have it installed our packages and I got Quarto 1.5.1.zip coming down. So it's an old version of Quarto that's coming down.
You got
1.9.
1.5.1. I got that too, huh?
Yeah, so that's a very old version. There's something wrong. I was asked to download Quarto separately, which I did. I'm going to say 1937 or something of the sort. And I
Yeah.
thought this would see it, but RStudio, but evidently we've got the same problem.
Well, I'm not sure about the Quarto version, but I guess it's just pulling whatever is the most recent on CRAN. So anyways, any version will probably work for the purposes of our demonstration here. So the next thing, we're going to go inside there and create a Git repository. So let's try that. Okay, I'm going to do that in this. Let's go into a shell in a terminal, actually. So here I'm going to make this bigger for the demonstration. I'm going to go into this folder that I just created, demo May 26, and I'm going to do a git init to create a Git repository. Following the steps here. Next step is echo site into Git ignore and echo Quarto into Git ignore. So why am I doing this? So here I'm putting some stuff in my Git ignore file so that it's not going to add these files, which the site directory is going to contain the websites that's generated. And .quarto is some Quarto specific files that they're not source code. We don't want to include in our GitHub repository. So we're going to put those in the git ignore file. And here I'm going to do a git add. So this is adding all of the source code files that I do want to put in. So let's try that. And after that, it says to do a git commit, but let's do a git status first. So git status says we're adding a bunch of files. Let's confirm all these files that we want to add. Git ignore, Quarto YML, it's a config file, about QMD, index QMD. These are like, Quarto source files that are going to become web pages when we render. And same thing with all this stuff. This is some more config files and source files. So this is good. We want to commit this. So let's do the git commit. Next line here. Okay. I have to put in my code for signing my commits. Okay, so now I have committed to my local repository. Great. And so now we have to create it says now we're going to add a remote. So I'm on Ubuntu. I'm going to do this git remote add origin thing, and we're going to have to go to GitHub and create a new repository first. So let's do that. Here, let's go to github.com. On github.com, I'm going to click this plus and do new repository. New repository name is going to be the same name that I just created. Demo May 26. Okay, visibility public. Add readme off. Create repository. Let's do it. Okay, so now I have a new GitHub repository that's empty, and I'm going to push it from the command line following these instructions here and also in the slides. So here, git remote add origin. That's this one. So repository I created is tdhawk/demo May 26. And then I'm going to do a push. So that's going to send my source code to GitHub. Cool. So going back to that, I see that now I have a new repository, and these are all the kind of automatically generated Quarto files. That's going to be like this basic blog template. Any questions about what I did right there? Probably not that different from what you've already done if you've already.
It's a bit confusing. It's a bit confusing.
It's a little confusing?
Yeah.
What's confusing?
I think you moved the Quarto has started barfing on me in the 1.5 that I installed quickly, and from there on I was a little lost.
Okay, yeah. So
you created
you
created this GitHub repository in the Git app, or just directly from the command line?
Well, so I just use these commands here that I included in the slides, right? So I just did all this stuff in the terminal right here.
In a terminal,
okay. Git init here. I just use all the standard git commands here. Git init, git add, git status, git commit, git remote add, git push. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the question was that can you do this in another interface? Yeah, there's plenty of different interfaces to Git. There's like a GitHub app. You can use it in RStudio. I like to use it inside of Magit in Emacs. But I like to, when I do demos like this, use the command line because that's like kind of the common denominator that everybody can really understand. So is that okay? Any other questions before we go forward? Okay, well, so now we've created a new GitHub repo with a blog source files. And now the next step is to create a new Netlify project. And before we create a new project on Netlify, we're going to first run the website generation on our local computer. So here, this is going to be this Quarto render command. So let's try that and see if it works. Going back to my R session, here I had a Quarto create project. Let's try Quarto render. And using that demo folder, see what happens. So I give the path here to that project that I created, and it says output created site index.html. So what does that mean? It means that we have a new blog website underneath this site directory. And so, in fact, we can do a local preview here. If we do in our web browser, we go to the folder that we just created. Here I have the, where is it? Let's see. R demo. So this is the folder that we just created. And you see that there's a site directory here. We go in the site. You see there's an index.html. And so this is the website that is kind of like the default Quarto blog template that we just rendered. And so the idea is that we're going to be copying this site directory with this website onto Netlify. We're not going to put the website in our GitHub on our Git repository. We're just going to copy it to Netlify. So let's open up Netlify. Netlify.com. Yes. Log in. So you're going to ask you to log in with your GitHub. If you got a GitHub thing, you're going to use the same thing. Okay, that brings me to my dashboard here. It has all the different projects that I've set up so far. Then I'm going to go to add new project. And it says, let's create your new project. Upload your project files. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to click choose a folder, and we're going to choose that site folder that we just created. So here, I type the name of that folder that we just created, demo May 26 _ site. And that is what we're going to upload. Are you sure you want to upload all the files from site? Yeah, sure. Okay, and that's going to create a new project in Netlify with this new website. So it gives you some default name called depcannoli1ea07f, some unique ID, but we're going to change that later. So, but before we go on, are there any questions about how to do that?
Could you just quickly repeat where the site file was created? Or, well, if I understood it correctly, it was created by running Quarto render, right?
Yeah, that's right. When you run the Quarto render, that's going to create this _ site folder underneath whatever, your project name directory.
Okay. Maybe I just have to go through this once again because did not work for me, but I think I'll figure it out myself.
Yeah, if the Quarto render command works, you should be able to see the site thing, but maybe you provided the wrong path to the Quarto render command. I don't know.
Well, I think I forgot the parentheses. I think that
could be it.
The problem. Well, I just run through that again. It's all right.
Okay, yeah, the next step here, add these folders to your Git ignore. So this is important. We don't want to add or commit these website files in our Git repository. So here I'm going to do a Git status to check. It says that I don't have anything that's, kind of unstaged. I do have a modification in Git ignore, so let's see what it says there. It says that it added something, .quarto. We already had something, so I think it's fine. But yeah, if you do see that Git wants to add your site directory, tell it not to, or make sure to ignore that, because we do not want to add these generated website files. We only want to add the source files in our Git repository. Okay, so let's go to the next step. Now we're going to define our Netlify project name URL. And so here we're going to click project configuration, and we're going to change our project name on Netlify. So project configuration is on the upper left up here. I click this, and so we can do here, change project name. That's going to change this def cannoli thing, this default name that they have. And so I'm going to call it like demo blog May 2026. So this is going to be the name of my my new website on Netlify. So I have a new URL that says demo blog May 2026.netlify.app. You can follow this link and you can see that I actually have something that's working online already. As soon as we uploaded that site directory, it's already available, and here we just changed the name. Now, any other questions before we go on to the next step? So here you're going to change the name to like whatever your GSOC project is, right? So, the GitHub repository and the Netlify, it should be, you should choose some name that makes sense based on whatever your project you're working on. Okay. So the other thing that's important on this web page is there's this project ID, which we're going to need to input into GitHub. So I think it's on the next slide. Let's see that. Or generate Netlify token. Yeah, so we can do that too. So yeah, there's two things that we need from Netlify to put into GitHub. Number one is that this site ID. So when we want to do the update of the website, it knows which website to update. And then the second thing is this Netlify token, which actually gives us permission to do the update. And so here, we're going to go to this website to create a new token. It says create a personal access token. And here, you get a choice on what is your expiration date. Usually I'd put no expiration for these kind of things. If you want to be more secure, you can choose like something like 90 days or 1 year or something depending. But yeah, so this token is going to have permission to update all of your websites on Netlify, right? So it's important that you don't share this information with other people. So here I'm going to give a name, demo, May 26 token, okay? And here I'm going to generate it. And so normally, like here, you could see my token now. So if you copied this, you could edit all my websites on Netlify. So please don't do that. And I'm going to revoke my token after this talk, so nobody can do that afterwards. But make sure that you don't share this with anybody. We're just going to put it in GitHub, and that's it. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, let's go back to the slides because it's documented here. Next one, input Netlify codes in your GitHub repo. So we're going back to our GitHub repository, and we're going to go to settings, secrets, actions. So that is a repository that we just set up with the source code that we just pushed. And then we can go to, here we can actually click here, or we could just type it. Like I said, settings, secrets, actions. Okay. And that's going to take you to this repository configuration page where you have these options of inputting secrets. We're going to input a new repository secret. And that token, that is going to be called Netlify auth token. You have to have this spelled exactly the same here with the capitals and the underscores if it's going to work correctly. And so the secret here that we're going to put in is this code that we just saw on the, where is it? It's this one. Here, this is the new token created that we just did. We're going to put that in. And we're going to add. Again, don't share that with anybody. I'm doing this, sharing this with you guys just because of this talk, but I'm going to revoke it because this is not secure. You guys could copy it and then edit all my websites if you wanted to. Let's not. Please don't do that. You're going to have your own code that you're going to put in. You don't put in the same as my code, please. Okay, now we're going to do a new repository secret again. And second secret we're going to do is Netlify site ID. And this is the one that's coming from this project configuration page where it says project ID. You're going to copy that project ID and you're going to put it in your GitHub secrets. Great. Now there's two secrets in the two repository secrets, Netlify auth token and Netlify site ID. These are going to give us permissions to edit the website that we have on Netlify from the context of a GitHub action. Are there any questions before we go on? Not hearing any. I think we can keep going. So the last kind of thing that we need to set up that I like to set up here is we're going to set up automatic PR comments. So what is this? Well, every time we create a pull request, we're going to get a little comment automatically that says preview. So it's going to be a link to what is the preview website every time in a PR comment. And to set that up, we just need to go to, in GitHub, creating a personal access token that has permission to create pull request comments on this new repository. So here, let's go to this repository. Here, I'm going to put in my password. Okay, and it says create a fine-grained repository scope token suitable for personal APIs use, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to call this demo May 26 PR token. Okay. And again, here we're going to choose some expiration. Usually I do no expiration because then I don't have to do this again every year. We're going to do only select repositories. We're going to select the repository that we just created, this demo May 26 repository. Okay. And the permission, we have to add a permission, and permission is going to be pull request permission. Okay. Then you have to make sure to choose access, read, and write. So then it's going to have permission to make comments and pull requests. After that, we're going to generate the token. Any questions about that? How to set up this token? Again, all of this stuff that I just did, it's actually, circled in red on these slides. So feel free to consult these slides if I'm going too fast for you. But so now we have this token, we're generating the token, and it says it will never expire. It grants 2 permissions for 1 repository, metadata read only, pull request read and write. That's great. Let's generate it. Again, this token here is sensitive. Don't share this with anybody else. I'm just doing it for the demo, but I'm going to delete it right after this talk so nobody has my permissions. Please don't copy this one that I have here, but do this for your own one that you generate for yourself. And so here I'm going to copy it, and then we're going to go back to our actions, GitHub Action Secrets, new repository secret, and we're going to put that in as this secret called Pat GitHub PR. Okay, that's this GitHub token that we just created, and that's going to give us permission to make PR comments from our GitHub Actions. So if everything's set up correctly, you should have these 3 secrets under repository secrets: Netlify auth token, Netlify site ID, and Pat GitHub PR. Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so the next step here is let's try to make some kind of edit and see if this this works. We're gonna install a new action in our GitHub repository. So here we're gonna create a new branch in our repository to create a pull request. Here I'm gonna do git checkout -b add Netlify. Let's do that. It's creating a new branch. Going back here. Okay, so I'm in a new branch called add Netlify. And in this new branch, I'm going to add some files. So we're going to create a new file called .github/workflows/buildsite.yml. And let's open up that file. So going in our new repository, we're going to go to GitHub/workflows. And move this Teams thing. This hide, yes. Workflows/ and here you can give any name that you want, builds.yml. Okay. So here we're going to put in the same code as here the simple Quarto example should work fine. Let's go there. So here I have a YML configuration file that I'm using for this data table blog. I'm just going to copy all this code, and we're going to put that into this YML file that we just created. So there's a couple things that you do need to change in this file. They're right at the bottom here. It says path docs netlify URL data table ref. So these 2 things we have to change. The path that we're going to deploy from is this _site in this case, because that's where we had the website generated from Quarto. And the Netlify URL, we're going to want to put the same URL as this Netlify site that we just created. That is, I think, here. It's called demo blog May 26. So demo blog May 2026.netlify app. Okay. I'm going to save that file. And so looking here, there's a couple things that we should notice when we look at the steps that we're doing here. First, they're doing checkout, so we're gonna get a copy. This is the stuff that's gonna be happening in our GitHub action, right? So every time we do a push to a GitHub pull request, GitHub's gonna give us a virtual machine where it's gonna be doing all these steps, right? So first thing is we're gonna check out all of our code from our GitHub repository. Next thing, we're gonna set up R2U. This is this our binary package repository that Dirk set up, and he's doing a really good job of creating Debian packages for the most recent release of R that are super easy to install. And so here, this is installing R and most recent release from that repository. Also here, we're going to do setting up Quarto. And then here, this step here, render. I have the script rnosave render.r, right? So this is a script that we're going to need to put that's going to do, it's basically going to first install packages and then do Quarto render. So let's go back to the slide so we can see that. So here it says add render.r for Quarto sites. So for Quarto generated websites, you need to install the required R packages in the GitHub Actions virtual machine. So I propose doing this in this render.r file. So for example, in this data table blog, there's, I don't know, like 10 or 20 posts, and they're using a variety of different packages. And so in this render.r file, I put all the packages that we used in all the different Quarto files, and it's just going to install them once in the beginning, and then it's going to do the Quarto render at the end of this script. So let's try that. Okay. I'm going back to my repository here, and I'm going to create a file called render.r. I'm going to put that code, and I'm going to, I don't think I need most of this stuff, actually. I think maybe I just need Quarto. So I'm just going to delete everything and just put Quarto. And you shouldn't put too many packages if you don't need them. And here, this is for installing pollers from Multiverse. I'm going to delete that too. Here I have an unlink. You could, that's deleting the folder. You could delete the site folder just to make sure that, when you do the render, you're doing a clean render with no existing files. So let's see if that works. Here, I'm going to try that in my R session. I'm going to try a new session here. I'm killing the existing one. I'm going to start a new one here. Oops. Starting a new one. And here I'm going to do unlink site, Quarto render. Should be fine. Let's take a look and see if the other code works. Packages, missing packages, install packages. Does nothing because we have Quarto already. Okay, it looks like it should work. So going back to this, I'm going to go to next step. The next step is verification after push to GitHub. So we already verified there should be 3 secrets on our repository. Now we're going to do git commit on these new files that we have, and we're going to git push. So let's go back to our Git terminal. Here, I'm going to do a git status first to see what's new. Here we see that we have some stuff under GitHub and the render.r. So I'm going to add render.r, and I'm going to also add the GitHub workflows build.yml. And we're going to commit those guys. And let's see. That work? No, not quite. Hold on. Gotta put it in my code. That's for signing my commits. Then I'm going to do a git push, and that's going to create a new branch on GitHub. And I'm going to go here to add Netlify, to create a new, could follow this URL to create a new pull request on GitHub. So let's look at that. Or actually, another way to do it is going to this repository. You could go to here, and you see there's this little yellow banner, add Netlify had recent pushes, compare and pull request. And so here we say create pull request. And normally we should be able to get a GitHub action down here. So yes, we see that build state is starting to run. And so what is it doing? Hopefully, if this works as demos always do, hopefully that will deploy my Netlify site. So is there any questions from the audience?
To be honest, I'm actually lost because of my troubles with Quarto. So as I struggled a bit on my end, I lost track a little bit, of what you were doing. And there's a level of complexity that's kind of not easy to just go back, just backtrack quickly through.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit hard to follow because you're right. It is complex, and that's why I created all these slides so you can go back through it and you can see all the stuff step by step.
Absolutely. That's the only way I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm more than just a little lost right now.
Yeah, I think that's normal.
I'm not being unkind. It's me.
Any other questions? So let's look at the rest of the slides. There's only a couple more. So so it says link web pages to review. So this is something that I like to do. So here for each PR you create, GitHub Actions automatically comments a preview link to index.html, like this preview link that we see here, and hopefully we're going to get in a minute on the pull request that we just created. But I also like to create a link like this. So for all the web pages that you update, you can actually have a link to the specific web pages here. Like this is a specific blog page that is like separate from the main page. So then you can have a link right to that so your reviewers can go right to the pages that are modified for easy review. And so, yeah, in conclusion, so normally now you should have a website that's hosted on Netlify, and this setup is great for teams and for outside contributions. The idea is that one person is going to submit a PR and the others review the source changes under the GitHub PR files change tab, just like usual. And others can preview the updated website on Netlify. So if the PR preview website looks good, you merge the PR and then the changes will appear on the main website. And so for future work, something that we could do to improve this whole process would be a PR comment, which automatically links all the updated web pages, not just the index.html, which is what's happening currently. And render.r, which looks at the QMD files to automatically determine what R packages to install. And so currently that's another manual step that you have to do. But yeah, that's the end of the talk. And I'll take any questions now, please. Actually, here we see that the build actually worked. So you can see that we got this preview comment. And so the preview takes you to the, this kind of preview website with a 1-merge, meaning this is the website preview for the first pull request. And, if we wanted to say, do that more kind of specific thing, you could provide a link to something that we update here. Say, you'd add a comment like this, please review the updated web page, right? And so then you have a direct link to whatever pages that you update, so it's easier for people to see and review. The other thing I was kind of wanting to mention is here, when you go to this build, you can see the details. If you view the details, you can see the logs from Netlify. Sometimes this might not work. Like if there's something that doesn't work under the render step, you can see what goes wrong by looking at this output. And same thing for the deploy. You should be able to see that at some point down here, it says deploying to Netlify, deploy path, Netlify deploy complete, and then it's going to give you a URL to the draft. So Yeah, so it's sometimes important to look at these logs, and these logs are just indicating that everything worked fine. So yeah, we have about like 5 more minutes that I planned in the meeting. So are there any questions or comments?
Yes, can I have a question? Yes. First of all, so should every single person create a blog like this, or the people working on the same project should create a blog like this for this particular project?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the question is, you know, if you have different people working on the same project, do you all share the same blog, or does each person have their own blog? You know, it depends on what you want to do. I think maybe, you know, for for a bunch of people working on the same project, you might want to just have like one project blog, and then everybody's, you know, submitting PRs there. But yeah, it's your choice. I think, you know, all of this is optional, so it's like, you know, whatever you think is most natural or most informative or useful for people who would be using your software, you know.
Okay, now the question is, the link to this document does not work for me. It gives me a 404. So could you please just resend the link of this document, the Google Doc?
Yeah, that's the Google Slides, so you're not getting the right link.
Yeah, it gives me 404. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, after this talk, I'm gonna follow up by a link to the slides and also the video recording. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, you're welcome. Are any other questions or comments? Yeah, maybe a question about like how you would do this for at our package website, right? So I didn't really mention that, but you basically all the steps are the same except for you're gonna do go back to this where is it? You know, that first step where we create a new Netlify project. Remember we did this Quarto render? You know, basically you're just gonna switch that out for whatever, you know, package documentation command that generates your website. So here I give the example of light down is a command called fuse site, which is going to make a website on it. Or, you know, package down, you have like a docs directory. So, you know, all the steps are the same except for, you know, you're just going to use whatever other website generation function here. And then, yeah, you could create a separate Netlify website for your package documentation like that. Okay, so
okay.
Yeah, any other questions or comments?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna stop then, and I would just like to thank everyone for participating, and I hope everybody has a nice day and a nice Google Summer of Code.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing your slides and recording.
Great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.